Good morning, students. I hope you all are fit, fine, and healthy. Yes? Okay. So, let's again come to the topic and study. So, for today, first we will start with the home assignment of the previous class. Okay? You'll check your answers. I hope you all have done the homework. So, check it please. In the last class, we studied about male reproductive system. Did we? We studied about male reproductive system. So, then I told you to write those functions of all the parts of male reproductive system as homework. So, this is the answer. You have to write the functions. At least I told one function should be there for all. So just check it once. Bladder, it stores urine. Then seminal vesicle provides energy to sperm. Then prostate nourishes the sperm. Then corpus spongiosum prevents compression of urethra. Then urethra, it will carry semen. We have studied about semen. Then testes produces sperms. Then epididymis stores sperm. Then corpus cavernosum, it makes the penis erect and contract. Okay. Then bulbourethral gland, it will neutralize the acidity in the urethra, because urethra consists of the urine and urine is acidic in nature. So it will help in neutralizing the acidity in urethra. Then ampulla, it will be the storage chamber for semen. Whatever semen is produced, it will be stored in ampulla. Then vas deferens, it will transport the sperm from epididymis. As soon as the sperm reaches epididymis, it will make it transport and help in other functions. Then penis. Penis is the main male reproductive part. Clear? Penis is the male reproductive part. Okay, I hope you are clear with it. So, I hope you all are clear with the male reproductive system very well. In the previous class, we have studied about the introduction part of reproduction. Then we studied about the modes of reproduction, that is sexual and asexual. Under asexual, we have studied the reproduction, that is budding in Hydra and binary fission in amoeba. We have studied this, and then we started sexual reproduction in animals. When we started for sexual reproduction in animals, we also went through what is fertilization, then the types of fertilization, that is external and internal, and then we started reproduction in humans. Okay, and in that we have completed the male part. Now, the second important part that we are going to start today is female reproductive system. So, students, female reproductive system in humans is located in lower part of the abdomen. Yeah, it is located in the lower part of the abdomen, and it consists of the following parts. First, the pair of ovaries, then the pair of oviduct, then the uterus, and then vagina. Clear? Then this ovaries are the main organs. Clear? And they produce female gametes, or we can say egg, or we can say ova, or we can say ovum. Okay, ovaries only produces ova, or the female gamete. Okay, female gamete. Like in the males, we saw that testes was producing sperms. In the same way, here ovaries will produce eggs. Then, when we see about production of ovum, how it occurs, so production of ovum will occur every month. Okay, every month one egg or a single egg or ovum is released from one of the ovaries. Means both the ovaries will not work together. If one is working, other will not. If other is working, then one will not. So they will work alternatively. Every month, either of the ovaries will release ovum. Clear? Single ovum is released every month. Then comes the pair of oviduct. Then comes the oviduct. Oviduct is also known as the fallopian tube. Yeah? And each of the oviduct is attached to each of the ovary. Yeah? Then an oviduct will only carry ova from the ovary to the uterus when this egg is released. Clear? And for the reproduction purpose, this egg which is released by ovary has to go to uterus. Clear? And then only reproduction process will occur. So for that, this transfer of egg or ova or ovum from ovary to uterus is done by the oviduct. Clear? So this is the main function of oviduct. Then third comes uterus. Clear? Third comes uterus. It is in very common or general terms. It is known as womb. Okay? Womb, where the baby grows inside the female. So that is known as womb. And here only the development of zygote take place, and zygote will change into embryo, and embryo will change into fetus, and fetus will grow into the complete baby, and the young one will be formed. That is the process. So this is known as uterus. Then comes the vagina. Vagina is the female reproductive part. Clear? Female reproductive part is vagina. Like in the male it was penis. Here the female reproductive part is vagina. Okay? And vagina only helps for entry of sperms into the female body for reproduction. Okay? You can see here this this is the diagram of female reproductive system. Clear? And this is how it looks. You can see here in the top, okay, you can see uterus. Can you see? Yes, uterus is present there. That is the uterus part. Then in the both sides you can see the tube-like structure. See both the sides. That tube-like structure is known as oviduct, or you can say fallopian tube. Then you can see the ovary. Both the sides you can find ovary. See, ovary is there. Then one more thing you can find there is cervix. Okay, cervix. Cervix is a thin ball-like structure that helps during the ejaculation. Then you can find endometrium. Okay, endometrium. It helps in the reproduction by allowing the entry of sperms. Then you can find vagina. Okay, vagina is the lowermost part and the female reproductive part which helps in reproduction. Clear? So this is about. Then in the right side near the ovary you can see the fertilized egg. Can you find the fertilized egg? So this is how one of the ovary will work. Okay, once in a month, and the egg will be fertilized. Yeah, egg will be released by the ovary, and then oviduct will take it and take it to the uterus. But after going to the uterus, zygote formation will occur and the reproduction process will continue. See, the female gamete, that is egg, is much bigger than the sperm. Size of the egg is more than that of the sperm, and we can say that this egg, is a single celled body. Yeah? And the shape is spherical. It is spherical in shape. Then it also contains the food. Yeah, it contains the food in large quantity, so that the embryo, the developing embryo, will get enough amount of energy and nutrition. Okay, till it starts getting it from the mother. See, before the formation of the fetus, because firstly the first cell of the human reproduction, that is zygote, and zygote divides and redivides and forms embryo. Okay, and this embryo will later on divide and form fetus, and this fetus will start growing and it will form into the baby. But before becoming a fetus, means when it is a embryo or it is a zygote, it needs to get nutrition from somewhere. Yeah, because when it becomes fetus and the body organs start growing, at that time only the mother feeding occurs and the baby will get everything from the mother. But till that time it has to get some nutrition from other sources, and that source is this one only. Okay, the food is stored here in large quantity, which helps to provide nutrition to the developing embryo. Clear? So here you can see in the middle part where nucleus is there, that nucleus will contain the DNA, okay, which is arranged in the form of chromosomes. Then you can see the mitochondrion. Okay, this mitochondrion is the storage of energy, means it has food, and that food will generate energy and that will be stored in mitochondria. So this is about female gamete or the egg. So next step that occurs is fertilization. Okay, in animals also we saw that fertilization is a process where the male fuses with the female. So here also this fertilization in humans is an internal fertilization and it will take place in the oviduct. Okay, oviduct of the female it will take place, and here this fertilization is called internal fertilization. Now what happens here is we saw that many of the sperms are being released by the male gamete. Okay, and only one egg is released by female, but the sperm number is much more. Okay, and all the sperms go into the female body, but only one survives till last and rest are decayed and gets died. Clear? So the one sperm that will fuse with the ovum, okay, fuse with the ovum, and this during this process what will happen is sperm and ovum, okay, the nucleus of both will fuse together and form a single nuclei. Okay, it will form a single nuclei, and this single nuclei is known as the fertilized egg now. Yeah, it was simply the egg or the ovum, but after coming in contact with the sperm it gets fertilized. Yeah, and that fertilized egg is known as zygote, and this zygote is the first cell of a new individual. Means when a person takes birth, okay, and when a person is born, the first stage of his life is zygote. Okay, the first stage of its life is zygote. Clear? So this is about fertilization. Now the thing is, when the fertilization occurs, both the nucleus of sperm and ovum fuse with each other, and that's why the zygote having the combination nucleus will consist of or will inherit the characters of both male and female. Yeah, both male parent and the female parent, and in this way the fertilization takes place. You can see here in this picture, you can see here in this picture that when the fertilization takes place, you can see here that firstly it was a single nucleus. Can you see? Then this came in contact with the sperms, and when this came in contact with the sperm, this will be the condition later on. After fertilization, this will be the condition. It will be converted into single nucleus, and that is zygote. So this is what about fertilization. Now, when this fertilization occurs, the next effect of fertilization is the formation of embryo. Clear? As soon as the zygote is formed, it will divide itself. Okay. As soon as the zygote is formed, it will first move from the oviduct, because it occurs in the oviduct. So it will move from the oviduct towards the uterus. It will go to the uterus, and there it will undergo several repeated divisions. Okay, repeated cell divisions, and this division will cause it to form a ball of cells. Clear? And these ball of cells gradually they will form tissues and organs. You know, cells form the tissue, tissue forms the organ, and organ forms the organ system. So in this manner, different tissues and organs will be formed from the cells, and this developing structure, which is consisting of tissues, organs, this is known as embryo. Okay, this is known as embryo. Now, it's now the time when already embryo formation has occurred. Now it's the time for implantation. The implantation means this embryo will attach itself in the wall of the uterus. Okay, to the wall of the uterus. It will attach itself to the wall of the uterus. This process is known as implantation. Now, as soon as the implantation occurs, it is a very important need to nourish the embryo, to provide assistance to the embryo so that it develops into young organism, okay, young one. But this happens due to the formation of placenta. Okay, placenta, and this placenta helps or supplies the food and oxygen to the fetus and eliminates the fetal waste through mother's kidney. Yeah, this placenta is the messenger between the mother and the child. Okay, the mother and the child, and this placenta will supply all kinds of food and oxygen to the growing fetus, and also it will eliminate the fecal waste in the form of waste through the mother's kidney. If you may have seen when the baby is born. Okay, when the baby is born, there is a tube-like black colored structure that is being cut from the baby's body, and that one is only the placenta. It is being cut after the birth of the baby, and that placenta helps in the supplying of food and oxygen. Then there are different cells. Okay, there are different cells of different sizes, different shapes, and even they perform different functions too. So as soon as the implantation occurs and the placenta formation occurs, the embryo gets proper nourishment, proper food, proper oxygen and everything, and soon after 8 weeks, okay, soon after 8 weeks, in this period of time, most of the parts like hands, then legs, then head, eyes, ears, etc. formed in this stage. 8 weeks means already 2 months are over. So in this already this many of the parts are already formed, and at this stage only the fetus can be identified. Okay, the fetus can be identified because till that time it was an embryo, just a ball of cells. But when it becomes a fetus after 8 weeks, then it can be easily recognized, and this fetus will keep on growing further. Okay, and after 36 weeks, okay, after some about 36 weeks, the development is complete and the fetus is born. Means a baby takes 9 months to get born on this earth. Yeah, you can see here. This is how the baby is being present in the uterus of the female, and you can see this, it is attached to the wall, okay, due to implantation, and this tube-like structure which is attached to the female body and the child, this is only the formation of placenta, which helps in the transfer of food, oxygen and etc. to the baby. Now, in abnormal cases where the female is not able to conceive, okay, a female is not able to get pregnant, in that case there is a alternative which is found out, and that alternative is test tube babies. They are test tube babies, and many of us in the previous, we think like the name is test tube baby, so the baby will be grown in test tube. But no, this wonders completely, not completely, but not correct at times. Clear? What happens here is there are many women who cannot bear the babies, okay, as their fallopian tubes are blocked, or there may be some problem in their uterus, or there may be some problem in the formation of eggs or the ovary. Many other problems could be there which may affect the pregnancy in women. So when in these cases what happens is sperms are not able to reach the egg for fertilization. Yeah, because it is necessary that a sperm should reach the egg for fertilization, but it is not possible. So in these cases a technique called IVF, okay, IVF means in vitro fertilization is used, and in this technique sperm is taken from the, okay, through injection or some other methods, sperm is taken from the male and the egg is taken from the female. Okay, artificially they are being taken from the body of male and female, and then they are collected, and after that they are kept together. Okay, they are kept together for few hours in a test tube. Okay, they are kept together in a test tube for few hours, or maybe in another glass dish or something they are kept. And then what happens is when they are together, somehow the fertilization takes place between the male and the female gamete, and when the fertilization takes place, this fertilization is only known as in vitro fertilization because it is done in the glass tube. Okay, then after fertilization zygote is formed. Then zygote is allowed to produce zygote is allowed to divide and redivide and form embryo. Clear? And then this will take almost about 7 days for the zygote to be formed, and then this zygote, okay, this zygote is taken through different methods, either by injection or either operating or something. This zygote is taken to the uterus or the womb of the women, means directly injected or operated into the womb or the uterus of the female. And what happens? It develops there like any other normal baby, and the babies born through this technique are called test tube babies. Yeah, normally means what happens here? Nothing but fertilization takes place outside the female body and rest of the things are inside only. Clear? So this is what called test tube babies. Now let's talk about oviparous animals. There are mainly two types of animals. One who lay eggs and one who give birth. Clear? So the animals which give birth to the animals which lay eggs, okay, which lay eggs are called oviparous animals. And the thing is here that the development of zygote will take place outside the female body, not inside the female body but outside the female body, and the female will release many eggs in a safe place in the environment itself, in water or somewhere else. And one more thing is the chances of survival is less here. Why? Survival is less because what happens is, due to some environmental problems, due to the high winds, strong winds, due to rain or some other things, these eggs may at times get destroyed and the reproduction stops. So that's why the chances of survival is less here. Then for this, all the birds, even all the birds reproduce by this method. Then reptiles also reproduce by this method. Then there are insects. Okay, so these are some of the examples of oviparous animals. Now the second category is of the viviparous animals. These viviparous animals are those animals which will give birth to their young ones, and here the development of zygote will take place in a normal manner inside the female body, and the females, after fertilization, after embryo formation, after fetus formation, they will deliver their young ones, okay, and the normal processes go on. And here the chances of survival is more. Why? Because when the fertilization and everything occurs inside the female body, it is more safe, okay, rather than being in the open environment. Clear? So this is thing. Then for viviparous animals, mostly all the mammals, okay, mammals also undergo this type of reproduction process. Okay, they also give birth to young ones. But we can see that in birds, okay, in birds fertilization is internal, and the zygote will undergo the repeated divisions and roll down the oviduct. Okay, in some cases we can see that fertilization occurs inside only, like we can see in the birds, like hen. Suppose hen, what happens there? Fertilization takes place inside. Okay, then formation of zygote is also inside only, and after the formation of zygote, after the formation of egg, it comes out through hen. So then what happens? Before coming out, the egg gets covered or surrounded by a hard shell. Okay, surrounded by a hard shell, and this hard shell around the egg will provide them warmth. Okay, and will provide them warmth. And also the bird, when the egg is laid by the bird, what the bird do is, bird sits on the egg. Okay, the bird sits on the egg. Why? Just to give warmth to the bird. Yeah. So everything goes like that, and then the chick is completely formed and it bursts out from the cell. Okay, and comes out as an individual bird. So this is about viviparous animals.
The journey of life starts with a fascinating race. Starting with millions of sperm, only one, the fastest and the strongest, will reach the finish line. Some fall out of the race, getting lost in the rush through the narrow fallopian tubes, while some are stopped by natural obstacles which protect the woman's body from intruders. Those who make it closer to the end compete fiercely with each other. Together, they attack the egg cell. Their only goal is to be the first one to enter the egg. Only one will make it through, but the others simplify this mission by slowly dissolving the membrane of the egg. Finally, we have a winner. The winning sperm enters the egg and conception occurs. Half the man's and half the woman's chromosomes combine. This creates a unique DNA code which is needed to create new life. These combined chromosomes form the first cell of the new baby. This is now called the zygote. the zygote starts to divide into a cluster of cells and begins to travel to the friendly and safe habitat of the uterus. When the zygote is divided into a bubble of cells, a blastocyst is formed with an inner layer of cells making up the embryo and an outer layer which will protect and nourish the embryo. The blastocyst then finds a comfortable place to stay in the uterus for the next 40 weeks to develop and transform into a human being.
Now, our next topic will be young ones to adults. Okay, students, when we see the human beings, or we see the birds, or we see the animals, all the organisms, okay, they are not same throughout their life. Okay, they are having different phases of their life. When they are newly born or hatched, they are very little, the smaller ones, okay, they are somewhat similar to their parents at times. Then they grow and develop themselves, yeah, and then they become adults. So like this the cycle goes on. Okay, firstly the first cell we saw was the zygote, then zygote becomes embryo, then embryo becomes the fetus, then fetus becomes the baby is born, then 1 year, 2 year, 3 year and so on, then childhood comes. Okay, first infancy, then childhood comes, after that again the teenage time comes, okay, adolescence, then comes the next one, that is adulthood, and then comes the old age. Like this the life cycle of the young ones go on, okay, since they are implanted into the uterus to death. Clear? So like this all the organisms have different life cycles. Clear? You may have seen or heard that human beings can live, mostly many old age persons you may be knowing, they live, our grandmothers, grandfathers, okay, they can live till 100 or more years. Okay, mostly not more than 120, 50, not like that, but in rare cases till 100 years, 101, 102 they can live. Mostly the life cycle of nowadays, this era, it is 60 to 70 years or maximum 80 years, the living rate of the humans. Okay? But in many organisms, other organisms like dogs, it is 15 years, 20 years, then for cats it is some other years, and in the same way all the living organisms have different life cycles, have different ways of becoming adults. Yeah. So now we will take an example of frog. Okay. Frogs and many insects. Suppose for example we can say the silk moth, the organism, the insect from where the silk is obtained. Okay, so they are having life cycle, and in that life cycle they are really different. Why different? Because during their young age they are looking something else. Then becoming an adult, their look is changed. Okay, their persona is changed. Everything is changed. So these are the examples of two organisms, those who don't look similar in their young age and in their adulthood age. What happens, you may have heard and learned in your previous classes that frog first becomes larva. Okay, then from larva it matures and then it becomes tadpole. Okay, tadpole and larva is same. Firstly the mass of cells, then they become tadpole, then after tadpole they become young frog and then adult frog. Like this the cycle of frog goes on. In the same way when we see the silk moth also in the starting it looks caterpillar, then pupa. They look very different from the original insect which is in the adulthood age. So we'll see the life cycle of frog first, that how it looks, and that transformation. Okay, one important thing to remember is the transformation from the larva or the tadpole to the young frog. Okay, that process of transformation within the drastic changes that occur, it is called metamorphosis. Okay, it is known as metamorphosis. Yeah, that is the process by which the frog changes, gradually matures, then also undergoes drastic changes in it, and then it becomes an adult frog. That process is known as metamorphosis. Now you know that what is metamorphosis. It is the process of transformation within the series of drastic changes, from changing from a larva to a adult frog. Then the life cycle of frog generally consists of 3 distinct stages. Okay. Firstly, the egg stage, then the tadpole or larva stage, and then the adult stage. Okay. So this is what the cycle of or life cycle of a frog represents. We have 3 distinct stages are there. So see this, in this picture you can see the life cycle of a frog. First you can see the egg stage, the mass of egg cells being shown there. Okay. Then second comes the tadpole stage. Then that tadpole stage you can see that the organs are not completely formed. Okay. Nobody can say that it is a frog. Is it looking like a frog? No, it is not looking like a frog. Then comes the next stage when it grows and the legs are formed. See, in the next one you can see the legs also. Then after that it becomes a young frog, small one, smaller frog. Then after becoming the young frog, again it will undergo some changes and then it will become the adult frog. Okay, it will become the adult frog. So this is what the life cycle of a frog represents, from egg to tadpole, tadpole to young frog, then young frog to adult frog. This is what the cycle or the life cycle of a frog is. Then when we come to the life cycle of a silk moth, then it consists of 4 stages. Okay, egg to caterpillar, caterpillar to pupa, then pupa to adult. There are 4 stages of life cycle are there in a silk moth. See, you can again see here the eggs are in the bunches. You can see in the middle. Okay, they are generally present on plants, or you will find them on the leaves, especially on the green leaves they are present. So you can see that is a leaf made, and in that leaf, okay, you can see the small eggs. Okay, bunch of small eggs you can see there. Then from egg it will go to the larva stage. Okay, and this larva is nothing but it is known as caterpillar. Okay, it is caterpillar. Then from becoming caterpillar it will form the cocoon. What is cocoon? Cocoon is a hard substance. Okay, hard shell substance which will be consisting of the larva. Then pupa will be formed. This pupa or cocoon will be formed. Then from that pupa or cocoon, again the cocoon with developing moth. Means earlier only the small caterpillar larva was there inside the pupa, inside the cocoon. Now that larva will develop. Okay, and start becoming the moth, silk moth. It will start becoming the silk moth. Then after that again they will grow and the outside layer, that is the cocoon, will be removed, and from there they will form the adult silk moth. Okay, adult silk moth. You can see there both things are there. One is the male and one is the female. See, the down one you can see female and then male. Then what happens? Again male and female will meet. Okay, I am not saying that male and female will be formed together, it is the compulsion. No, either male or female, anything will be produced, and that male and female will meet up with the opposite partner, and then again the formation of eggs will occur, and again the life cycle will go on. This is the life cycle of a silk moth, from where we obtain silk. Clear? Now our next topic and last topic of this chapter is cloning. Okay? It is a complete biotechnological technique used in the recent times. Okay, it was being started in the recent times for the reason that the scientist or the biologist wanted to create something new for the new discovery or to find the desired varieties in the animals. Okay, they used the existing varieties to form the newer ones. Okay, this is what called cloning. It is a biotechnological technique used by biologists to form the exact copy of living organisms. Clear? By this process, a cell can be copied or a living part can be copied or a complete organism can be copied. But the thing is, it is done asexually. Means it is not the natural process, so it cannot be the sexual one. It is the asexual process and it occurs artificially in the laboratories. Clear? Okay. Then this process was developed by Dr. Ian Wilmut. Dr. Ian Wilmut. Dr. Ian Wilmut with his colleagues at the Roslin Institute of Edinburgh. Okay, it was being developed in Edinburgh in the Roslin Institute, and it was Ian Wilmut and his colleagues together brought the cloning into existence. Clear? And the first mammal that was cloned, the first organism that was cloned by this process was a sheep. Okay, was a sheep, and the name of the sheep was kept as Dolly. And this is the first clone. Okay, till now it is called the first mammal to be cloned, and the date when the Dolly was born was July 6, 1996. July 6, 1996. Then this clone was made by making the fusion of two cells from a sheep. From one sheep, the mammary gland cells were taken. Okay, cells of mammary gland. Mammary gland means the gland which produces milk was taken, and from the other female sheep, the unfertilized egg was taken. Okay, and both was made to fertilize, and by this the new sheep, that is Dolly, was produced. Clear? Dolly was produced, and obviously Dolly was a healthy clone, and after taking birth, it was not artificial. It does not do anything by the artificial means. Normally, like a normal sheep, it produced many offsprings. Yeah, bisexual means by being mated with the other partner and then forming the offspring, etc. Bisexual means it produced many offsprings and the young ones. So with this, when the Dolly was produced, Dolly was the first clone, and the characteristics that Dolly was having, no other ship was having, because it is the mixture of two ships. Okay, two different categories of ships. It was a mixture, and after Dolly, when the Dolly produced offsprings, so characteristics of Dolly was taken generation after generation in the other offsprings too, and the offsprings were also having the characteristics of Dolly, and ultimately this Dolly died on 14th February 2003. Okay, 14th February 2003 means it lived on Earth just 7 to 8 years of life it was having, and then it died. From that time, the biologist and the other persons, his colleagues and everything, they are continuously trying several attempts so that they can clone more animals, but till now nobody is successful. It was the first successful clone that was made, and that was Dolly. Until now no other successful achievement has been made in this field. Okay? I hope you are clear with the cloning and you are clear with other reproductive parts and the systems we have studied in this chapter, and now this chapter is over. If you have any doubt, then you can ask and you can clear it, and you have to go through and study well. Okay, now let's recall what we studied in this chapter. In this chapter, first we went through the introduction part, that is what is reproduction, then why reproduction has to be done, then what is the need of reproduction, etc. Then we studied modes of reproduction. Under that, two types were there, asexual and sexual. Then we came for asexual reproduction in animals, and under that we studied budding, that was in Hydra, and then binary fission in amoeba. Then we studied sexual reproduction in animals. Okay. Then we saw what are the processes, then gametes are formed, then fertilization occurs, etc. Then we studied fertilization, which is of two types, internal and external. Then we studied reproduction in humans, which was a quite lengthy and complicated one. In that we have studied about male reproductive system, then female reproductive system. We have studied the parts of male reproductive system, functions of male reproductive system, then the male reproductive part or the male reproductive gamete, that is sperm. Then we have studied about the female reproductive system, its characteristic features, its parts, okay, its structure, function, then the egg, ovum. Okay, then we studied about the oviparous and viviparous animals, means the egg laying and the birth giving animals. Then today we studied young ones to adults. In that we have studied the life cycle of frog and silk moth. Then we have studied about cloning. Okay, so this is what about the chapter reproduction in animals. Okay, go through the videos well and clear your doubts if any. And the notes for this chapter will be given to you in your WhatsApp group, and try to complete that in the notebook. Clear? And that's it. Now let's do some questions based on the topics. First, fill in the blanks. First question, the dash supplies food and oxygen to the developing embryo. Do you remember? Placenta supplies of food and oxygen to the developing embryo. Then second, the first mammal to be cloned was? It was a sheep. Then the transformation of larva to frog is called dash. It is called metamorphosis. Today only we studied. Now time for some homework. Do these homeworks. First, what is cloning? Second, what is IVF? Then third, what are oviparous animals? These three questions you should do as a homework. Okay students, so I hope you have understood the chapter, and if you have any doubt, you are free to ask anytime, and go through the video well, then study well, and then complete the work that is given to you. So have a good day and be safe. Thank you.
Story of Dolly the clone. Cloning is the production of an exact copy of a cell, any other living part, or a complete organism. Cloning of an animal was successfully performed for the first time by Ian Wilmut and his colleagues at the Roslin Institute in Edinburgh, Scotland. They cloned successfully a sheep named Dolly. Dolly was born on 5th July 1996 and was the first mammal to be cloned. During the process of cloning Dolly, a cell was collected from the mammary gland of a female Finn Dorset sheep. Simultaneously, an egg was obtained from a Scottish blackface ewe. The nucleus was removed from the egg. Then, the nucleus of the mammary gland cell from the Finn Dorset sheep was inserted into the egg of the Scottish blackface ewe, whose nucleus had been removed. The egg thus produced was implanted into the Scottish blackface ewe. Development of this egg followed normally, and finally Dolly was born. Though Dolly was given birth by the Scottish blackface ewe, it was found to be absolutely identical to the Finn Dorset sheep from which the nucleus was taken. Since the nucleus from the egg of the Scottish blackface ewe was removed, Dolly did not show any character of the Scottish blackface ewe. Dolly was a healthy clone of the Finn Dorset sheep and produced several offspring of her own through normal sexual means. Unfortunately, Dolly died on 14th February 2003 due to a certain lung disease. Since Dolly, several attempts have been made to produce cloned mammals. However, many die before birth or die soon after birth. The cloned animals are many a time found to be born with severe abnormalities.